Four Nights of the Apocalypse chapter 155 is out, and this was another really great chapter, but a very short chapter with only being 13 pages, which is really concerning. However, the main reason I think this is because Nakaba is actually right now going to be at Anime Expo this year, around July 5th, which is where there's going to be a whole Four Nights of the Apocalypse panel involving the anime and a sneak preview of the second season. So if you're going to be in Anime Expo, go check it out. Q&A for Nakaba Suzuki, and I believe the sneak peek of Season 2, Episode 1 of the Four Nights of the Apocalypse anime. So it's going to be pretty hype. And since he is away in the US, I believe that's why this chapter in particular was shorter. The next chapter might be standard length. But before we jump into this chapter, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and shows you guys enjoy the content I'm making on the channel and shows you want to see more. Also, a quick announcement. I updated my Patreon page. Not only that, I changed what the tiers are, but I also added an additional benefit of doing live watch parties for anime or live manga readings. At least, right now I'm going to try to do it every 2 weeks, maybe once a week. That way I can get to talk to you guys a bit more in the community a lot more actively. You also get access to my Patreon Discord server and a whole other load of benefits for the Patreon. Every little bit helps and helps ensure that I make a lot more high quality videos for you guys as well outside of these chapter reviews. But with that plug out of the way, let's jump right into this chapter. Chapter 155 of Four Nights of the Apocalypse, titled Back Together, as the cover image is Leonis Castle, as now we're back in Leonis. And we cut to Meliodas and Elizabeth walking with Donnie and An, as Meliodas says, "I called you all over just for one reason. I got someone who wants to meet you." As Donnie and An are wondering who it could be, Meliodas opens the door to the balcony as the wind blows. We cut to Nasiens as they're surprised to see Nasiens back again, as it has been years. I think they've been in the fairy realm for about 2 years now, and they're wondering why he's here if he just came to visit. But Nasiens says it's not only me exactly. Nasiens turns to the side as Donnie and An look over as they are in disbelief as to what they're seeing. Meliodas and Elizabeth smiling. A panel of the side of Percival's head as Percival says, "On Donnie, I'm back," and a nice full page. And then we get this really cute, funny, and wholesome page of just Donnie and An's just quick reactions, from surprise to total shock to on the verge of tears to Donnie starting to break down and crying and An looking away, as Donnie just rushes over and hugs Percival with all his might, calling him a bastard, saying, "You made me worry so damn much," and asks, "When did you wake up?" And Percival just says, "A little while ago, actually." With Percival stating that Donnie might have shrunk, but Donnie just says, "No way, man, you're way too big. You grew in the past few years." I mean, I did too, but you on the other hand. And Percival notices that something's different. And Donnie says, "Hey, can you tell?" as he tries to flex his newly found muscles. And Percival points out that the streak on the side of his head grew back. And I love that this is a nice piece of continuity with the fact that Percival is the reason that Donnie had that streak in his hair. So I found that hilarious, as the two of them were bonding and getting back together. Nasiens goes over and asks on Galahad if she's going to speak to Percival, as An is just clenching her fist, stating, "You left us so casually." And now it's all, "Hi, I'm back," as she yells at Percival, stating, "I demand an apology. Do you have any idea how it felt for us carrying you back 2 years ago?" And she's right. I know Donnie's being like, "An, you gotta chill out a little bit," obviously because his best friend is back, but An does have a point. Percival did just leave like that. We all know and understand his reasons for leaving, but to see someone you care for, someone who you've had your back for, and that you care about so much and believed in so much, just up and leave like that in an instant and have to carry them back home from an entirely different realm, it's heartbreaking and also to an extent kind of traumatizing. So I can honestly sympathize with An in this situation, as most people probably would. Because yeah, Percival even agrees in chapters ago when he came back that his decision was pretty damn selfish. While understanding it hits very close to home with Percival's mentality and what he was going through, both sides were in a lot of pain over this. And yeah, you could tell that it was a lot. But Percival walks up to An and hugs her, stating, "Alright, An, I'm sorry," with a serious look in his face that he really is sorry for this. I wish it was kind of worded a bit differently, but just the fact that he hugged her and said I'm sorry as she starts to break down in tears in his arms, while Nasiens, Meliodas, and Elizabeth smile at the sight. Now, allow me to say this. Percival has risen once more. The last arc, literally, where Percival showed up and just held Nasiens in his arms to save their life, and now he's doing it to Anne, just apologizing for his selfishness as she breaks down crying in his arms. First off, the Percival harem is strong at this point. Now we just need Rosebanks. If she's still alive? Question mark? I got no idea how that's going to play out. But either way, Percival is here. I am all here for it. These ships are great for Percival. I love them. Also, offhanded panel, Percival says, Donnie, I'm sorry, but Donnie says, don't worry about it, I wasn't mad anyway. Percival asks if Anne can forgive him, and she says, no, it's not going to be that easy with me. And yeah, it is a point, but I think she did forgive Percival in that instance, but she's just putting up a front, which is just a classic Anne thing to do. With Donnie saying, man, you can be such a pain. As I love Nasiens being like, you can't say that out loud. I miss Team Percival's banter. I grew to love it after watching the first season of the anime and looking back on some of the chapters. I liked their development as a team and a group of friends, very much so, and this just felt super wholesome. But after this interaction, Percival goes back into his chibi mode and just says, oh, but hey, moving on. There's this thing I want to show you guys. As Don's like, we're moving on already from this? And Anne just snaps at him saying, are you really sorry about this at all? And Percival just goes over to Nasiens, and in his adorable chibi self, just states, come on, you gotta show them. As Nasiens like, oh, okay. With Donnie being like, what are you gonna show us? And Anne trying to say, you gotta be a bit more sorry, but then they're just in total and complete shock as Nasiens is flying in front of them. As, yeah, Nasiens showcases what's going on. Surprising Meliodas and Elizabeth as well, and they're asking Nasiens what's going on. But Percival laughs, stating, guess what? It turns out Nasiens has the Fairy King for a dad and the Queen of the Giants for a mom, as this shocks everybody. Even Meliodas and Elizabeth are like, well, hold on, wait a minute. So you were the one that was switched out in that changeling incident 18 years ago? And Elizabeth's like, that was such a huge furor. Deanne was beside herself over it. A lot of grief. And yeah, I can imagine that. Your son just got taken away from you, and I mean, granted, they filled the void with Myrtle and treat him as their own and love him all the same. But Nasiens was also kind of happy knowing that Deanne was beside herself in grief because his mother missed him. And Elizabeth goes on to say, but that's great. I'm sure they were both happy to see you. And I just like that, in a sense, Meliodas didn't pick up on Nasiens being King of the Ant's son, because sometimes he could be kind of a goofball and not pick up on certain things every now and again. But I do kind of like that they still didn't know about this, and King of the Ant over these 2 years probably didn't mention to Meliodas. Probably because Meliodas would have blabbed about it instantly. We all know Meliodas can be kind of a troll when it comes to people, and he probably would have blabbed about it to somebody else. And they probably didn't want Nasiens to find out by somebody other than them, most likely. Even though that was kind of the thing that happened in the Farewell Mark, but it was from his own family, so it's fine. But Meliodas then asks how King and the Ant are doing. But Percival goes on to say, actually we had some big trouble. Worreldane, part of Arthur's Four Perils, tried to steal their drug of yore. They teamed up with King to beat her, but she made off with it in the end. As Meliodas and Elizabeth are kind of stunned by this, as Donnie says, wait, four evils? Is that the same with the guy that we fought, Beltrope? As Percival says, oh, you mean that menace who hurt Gother? Oh yeah, he was real bad. And Donnie's like, wait, how do you know about that? Now, my honest thing on how Percival realized this was, it was in the spirit realm. He probably had an idea of what was going on since life spirits are basically everywhere, and it wasn't until Nasiens was in full mortal danger that he literally came back together. Or, in all honesty, before he left the fairy realm, King of the Ant got the message from Thetis, and maybe Gother did like a quick telepathy thing with his invasion ability to give them information, because that wouldn't be the first time he sent a message to the fairy realm with his magic on important matters, so he probably briefed Percival on what happened. It's honestly one of these two possibilities, if I'm being completely honest with you, and it makes a lot of sense based off of what we've got in the story. But this is where the chapter leaves off, with Meliodas and Elizabeth talking about Worreldane. As Meliodas says, Worreldane, I've heard that name somewhere. And Elizabeth states something very interesting. Oh right, Merlin mentioned her long ago. as this catches Meliodas' eye and tells the rest of them, never mind that, we'll talk more tomorrow, alright? With the last panel showcasing the moon, ending the chapter. So yeah, very short chapter, but what a nice cliffhanger to leave us off with not only answers for Worreldane, but also mentioning Merlin. Now, okay, Merlin is literally this series' white whale at this point. She is not in Camelot. She probably knows what's going on with Arthur. She probably has answers for a lot of things in this series. She probably trained Worreldane if Merlin mentioned her a long time ago, which could also state that Worreldane might have been around a long time ago. Long enough to either meet Meliodas and Elizabeth during the original Holy War, or perhaps it was more recently and that's what they mean by long ago. There's a lot to think about when it comes to this. Mine's racing a million miles a minute because Merlin has all the answers. She is nowhere to be found, and in all honesty, the second we meet Merlin, that's when all of her answers are going to be flooded over. Our questions are going to be answered. And this could be Nakaba's way of saying, you're going to get Merlin soon, maybe next arc, maybe 2 years from now. No clue. But, yeah. Merlin's the only sin we have not seen in this entire series, like, actually being around and not being an actual, like, clone mirage thing that Arthur created for his own fantasies. But yeah, short chapter, but a nice chapter. I like that Team Percival is finally reunited. I'm happy to see the interaction with all of them. I'm glad that Percival apologized. They dropped the bombshell of Nasiens basically being the prince of the fairy realm, more or less, King of the Ant's child, and the whole situation with Worreldane, the Merlin drop, and the Worreldane connection. A nice, good amount of stuff happened in this chapter, and I cannot wait for next week. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts, opinions, and theories in the comment section down below on what you think is going to happen next and what Meliodas will talk about in regards to Worreldane and perhaps the state of the world. And once more, if you haven't already, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys know the content I make on this channel and shows you want to see more. Nakaba is just edging us with the Merlin Answers arc. I can feel it in my bones, it will happen soon.